What you think about these aviators? You like that?
This Koshan is my favorite. That's one of the limited ones. It's one of my favorites. I've bought in several boxes of those. They just got the night something in of them. Night flights. They're awesome.
I got a, I was talking to Ken Hamlin.
Yeah.
And I was telling him, man, he has a pretty decent stick too, man. He did good. He didn't just put no bullshit together, you know?
Yeah, no, his stick's really good. I like it for, it's more of my coffee cigar, like morning coffee cigar.
Mm-hmm. Man, how y'all day been going, man?
I can't complain.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, we're rolling.
Yeah, you've been on.
Oh yeah, we just
that's gonna be great
footage
on our end.
That'll be great footage after, man.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show, Tony. Thank you for all y'all joining us today. As you guys know, we've got Tony Hills today here. Thank you for joining us, man. How's your day been going?
Man, listen, we came in from work, closing some deals, getting some deals in the pipeline, and just enjoying, the retired life and getting back into the work life, right?
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we've got 10-year veteran here, played for many, many teams. Super Bowl champ.
I got one of those.
Texas Longhorn, national champion. I don't know what I'm doing inviting all these Longhorns on here. I'm going to have to invite me a Sooner on here sooner or later.
No, later. Absolutely. Later.
Later.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have the Red River rivalry coming up.
It is coming up, and we both took L's, man. So we gotta, that game still means something, right? We still got opportunities to make things happen. So I'm excited about it.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared, man. You guys finally got you another coach that I think you're actually gonna give him the time and chance to do something.
Well, what choice do we have? Everybody else that we have is fizzled out. Yeah. So it becomes a situation where if you don't allow the coaches to develop the players, if you don't give them the opportunity to put their systems in, and you stop, if you continue changing coaches, how do you ever expect the team to progress? You had one of the guys that talked about the seniors on that team.
Yeah.
Those seniors have had 4 different coaches, 4 to 5 different coaches each year.
Yeah, that's
How
ridiculous.
do you expect anything? Like, anything you do in life takes consistency.
It's true.
Right?
It's kind of why we ended up on this subject last week, too, talking about the standard is the standard, which I know you're a proud proponent of that saying.
Absolutely.
And your boy Jonathan Scott and I got onto that one for a little bit, and he hammered me with how many coaches the Steelers had.
Yeah.
And we talked about the Cowboys too, and I couldn't even name all the Cowboys coaches as a fan. I mean, it's been kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, but
well, that happened towards the latter, but for a long time it was you had the hat, Tom Landry.
Yeah.
After Tom, they brought in Jimmy? Did Jimmy come in after Tom?
Yeah.
Jimmy came in, and then they brought in Switzer, right?
Yep.
And then I think after Switzer, they brought in Parcells.
And
then after
Campo.
Parcells, they brought in, I forgot about Campo.
That was the one that got me last week.
Yeah, I forgot about Campo. And then from there, Jason Garrett.
Yep.
And then you had a staple for a long time, which with Dallas, the whole thing with them is that they just could not get over the hump, right? There was just something when it came to the playoffs. You just weren't able to make things happen, except in 2014. I just so happened to be there. But in 2014, we were a game or a catch away from actually going to the NFC Championship in the Green Bay space. So outside of that,
I was supposed to be at that game. I was so mad I didn't get to go to that. But then I was kind of glad at the end, too, because, man, that would have been heartbreaking to be there.
It was heartbreaking to play
enough to watch it at home.
Yeah.
And I blame one of my friends because he came back, and I'm sure you're going to have a different opinion of this probably.
Yeah.
But he came home as a Cowboys fan with a cheese head, talking about it was a souvenir. And I said, you were the curse. Like, we got to break this curse. Like, I'm going to have to burn this thing because you literally cursed the team. This is like the great jinx, like the great white hype is what I told him he was.
Man, there's diehard fans and then there's fans. And at the end of the day, if I can get some free stuff, I'm going to get it too.
Yeah,
I hear you. I understand it.
I might have to hit you up on that. Speaking of that, because one of my nephews is a diehard Broncos fan.
Yeah, I played with them too.
And I know you did. And we have a bet this year that if they end up with a better record than the Cowboys, I got to wear a Broncos jersey next year.
Well, I'll let you know.
So if I got to wear any Broncos jersey, it's going to have to be my boy Tony's.
I can rock. We can rock with that. Listen, this is the thing, and the NFL is funny this way, because you have Cooper Rush,
right?
Enter in. He's already won. They're 2-1 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's already won. He's already won a game. He came in and finished last week. My thing, and I was talking to somebody at a gym that I work out at well, I don't want to get to where I work out at. They might try to find me. So at a gym that I work out at, we were talking about how can he sustain, right? Because right now the NFL doesn't have any film on him. So they don't know his tendencies. They don't know what his favorite check down routes are, what his favorite routes are. They don't know how he really is under pressure, what kind of pressures to send. So they're trying to figure him out. I'm interested to see, once they figure him out, how he performs if Dak is not able to get back on the field for a prolonged amount of time.
Because I think he's just slinging it right now, and that's what looks good to me. The fact that I don't think he's not trying to find the perfect guy
who's
in
ever
the
open
play.
The ball.
Whoever he sees that's open, he's slinging it to him.
Yeah.
And I think that's a benefit right now.
Well, it is. It's kind of like the whole thing where you think about, like, I've never been a proponent of let's stack a team full of superstars. Because you do that, and like, it looks great on paper, but where's your grimy guys?
Right.
Where's your guys that still have to work for it? Where's your guys that, I don't have a name, I'm trying to make one? You need a mixture of those guys along with your stars to be able to make a great team. And so when I look at what Cooper's doing, it's not just CeeDee Lamb is the guy. No, I'm going to find whoever's open, because at this particular point, I'm still probably trying to get a little bit more comfortable with the offense. I'm not there yet. So let me, and then the other part is, because I'm a backup quarterback, you know what they're more prone to do?
What's that?
Can I cuss on here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Follow the fucking system, right? And not overthink, because I've done this for so long and I'm comfortable. I used to listen to Shannon Sharp talk, and he played for a long time in the Hall of Famer. And he talked about how he always took notes.
Now.
Bro, he's freaking
I saw him the other day on a workout video with a Mr. Olympian.
50-something years old.
He looks better than he did when he played.
Man, it's because he's not smoking.
Yeah.
He drinks, though. He likes that yak. But, you follow the system. Allow the plays to perform, allow them to progress, and then go through your progressions and hit the guy. It's a very simple game. That's why I like New England, to be honest. Like, the guys that have played for New England, one of the things they talk about, I ask them about Bill Belichick. I say, hey, man, what makes him so great? And he says, man, listen, whatever your strength is, that's what you're supposed to do. So the Patriot way, what everybody talk about, is very simple. Do your job.
Kind of like the standard is the standard.
The standard is the standard, and their version is do your job, And so if you do your job, then everything works out.
Right on. Well, that kind of leads me to one question I definitely want to ask you, because you played under a lot of great coaches. And what are some of the most memorable life lessons on or off the field from some of these great leaders? Because, you were under Mac Brown, Tomlin, you guys had Dick LeBeau there. And you were under a plethora of other great coaches.
Correct. I had an opportunity to witness how everybody did it, and everybody did it in different ways. So if we're going back to collegiately, Mac Brown's thing was all about not hurting the team, right? Putting the team above self. And that bodes well in a lot of things, in business, and as a leader, as a man, as a family man. Whenever you're having to interact and work with groups for whatever that common cause is, always put that above yourself, because whatever it is that you're wanting individually will come, right? So that was his thing, being able to put the team above your ego, and also taking care of one another. There was a very family environment, family atmosphere in college sports that's not really there in the NFL, because although you can say one thing, in the back of your mind, you always know it's a business, right?
Right.
And now with the NIL, I guess they're really starting to experience.
They're really making money now.
Right? They're starting to experience what it's like in the NFL, man. But I look at it and I say, okay, you take that and you can use that. But for me, Mike Tomlin by far was one of the most influential ones. And, just keeping it a buck, man, I've never played for a coach that looked like me. You know, so there was a lot of pressure that I feel that we felt, some of us, I know I did, I'll speak for myself. I felt the pressure to be able to, whenever I was out there, to be able to represent not only myself, but to represent him, because I wanted that opportunity for him to continue to go and go as far as it potentially can, along with other guys. He's a great coach, but he's a great man farther than that, you know, and he allowed us to be men. We held ourselves accountable. And then on top of that, I was on an older team. Dude, we had over 100 years of experience just with the defense, the 11 on defense alone.
Right.
That's
something that's really resonated with both of you guys when I talked to you guys. I mean, I knew y'all were teammates and everything else.
That was a freaking year.
Yeah.
Did he talk about that?
He talked a little bit. We didn't get too much. You know, Jay Scott doesn't really show up on time to things. So
he's on his own time. He's on Jay Scott time.
We had to operate on Jay Scott time, but we're gonna have him back on because I mean, I could, you know, you can talk to Jay Scott for hours. I mean,
plethora of knowledge.
I'm sure we're gonna get the same thing. Biz is gonna be over there telling me that you and I got to shut up, you know, before we're even close to being done.
It's a plethora of knowledge. So Jay Scott, not only being one of my best friends, he's also the godfather of my second child. And he's also the reason why I learned how to play offensive tackle, because I moved positions. I was the #1 tight end in the state of Texas.
Right. What was that like for you? Like, you know, you were so highly recruited, and like you were like one of the top tight ends in the country.
Correct. Yeah.
And then
I got you, Vernon. Yeah. Vernon, I got you in high school, bro. I was ranked higher than you, Vernon Davis. We've had this conversation. You know it. You know it to be true.
That's awesome. Yeah, awesome. And you had a nerve injury in your leg?
I did, yeah, man. So I suffered an injury in the semifinal game, the game before state against Converse Judson. And it stretched my peroneal nerve. I broke my ankle. It tore up all my, well, no, I didn't break my ankle on that one. I tore up all my ligaments in my leg. And I had to have, so LCL, PCL, MCL.
Like possible, you might not even get to play again.
We were talking about walking.
Yeah,
right. I used to have this cast that used to keep my foot up because my foot couldn't do the dorsiflex motion. It just hung like this. So after surgery, Raul Nath and Dr. Bruce Mosley, prayers to those brothers. I appreciate them so much for dealing with the insurance. You know, when you grow up in the hood, you just got to get whatever insurance you can, and they didn't want to pay for it.
Right.
So they worked with us anyway, and they made it happen. And man, it came back. You know, I didn't have any feeling in my leg. I went in. So the whole story is, you get hurt, you lose the feeling in your leg, you meet these doctors. They're going to work with you. They're letting you know that we're going to do our part and let God do the rest, because that's where it's at, right? And so I go in and I have the first surgery. Nothing happens, but I got to get healed up to go back to have the second surgery. So for 6 months, I'm walking with my foot like this. They put a cast on. And, you know, at that point, you know, as an 18-year-old kid that had dreams and aspirations of going to the next level, and you see your dream. And I get, this is a good story for people that have been in them dark places. Man, I love the darkness, man. You know, I love the darkness. I feel like my life has been formed in the darkness, and that's where I found my light. You know what I mean?
It's what taught you.
Yeah. And so 6 months, my uncle is Santana Dotson, so he gave me a workout. And, you know, he was like, nephew, just do your thing. Just do your thing. Just prepare. And so I used to go to the 24-hour fitness across the street from where I lived in Houston. And then I would work out there, go to my gym in my apartment, and I would run the incline for 20, 25, 30 minutes, crying, because the pain from that cast moving into my foot was so unbearable. It was cutting me. I started bleeding, but I couldn't stop because I was in so much pain from my situation that it got to a point to where I couldn't feel the pain physically, what was going on with my foot, and that actually trained my mind.
What do you think instilled that in you to even like push yourself like that?
I did not like the situation that my mother was in.
Okay.
And I knew that football was a way to get her out. So for me, I think the tears and the pain came from the fact that, how do I get her out now, right? Because this was my ticket. Yep. And so my mom, you know, when I was moving in this depressed state, and she basically said, you got two choices. You either gonna get your ass up and fight, or you gonna quit. But you gonna decide right fucking now. That's how my mama talked to me at 18 years old. Right? Shout out to Mary Lemons. And I'm not a quitter, man. You know, I just don't believe in it. So I did. Fast forward, we go and have another surgery. And she comes in and she's rubbing on my leg. She's like, all right, so the doctors are telling me, you're going to have to do this type of surgery, right? And when she first came in, I didn't want to hear it. So they gave us morphine. And there was this button, this red button.
Yeah, you saw the green light come on.
Yeah, bro. So I didn't know what it did. I just knew every time I hit it, I got sleepy and I didn't have to hear her talk. Because I wasn't trying to hear that shit. So she would come in and I'd be like, all right, Mom.
Everybody wishes they had those sometimes. You know, the mom's just getting after you. You got a morphine button.
I got a morphine button, but I didn't know that they stopped it. It was like they wouldn't let you get so much, right? And so she comes back and she's doing this again, right? Bro, the reason why I'm demonstrating is because I remember I couldn't feel anything. And I was like, Mom. And she was like, what? What's wrong? Because she didn't understand. Like, she was trying to figure out what was going on. I hadn't been talking and stuff like that. And tears started rolling down my face. She's like, baby, what's wrong? She's like, to get the doctor. I was like, no. Keep doing that. So she was like, this? I was like, yeah, keep doing that. She kept doing it. I said, Mom, I feel that.
That's awesome.
And she ran and got the doctors, and then my healing process started. This is why I have so much respect for Mac. I had over 116 D1 scholarships. When I got hurt, damn near every last one of them pulled them, right? Mac said, we recruited you for the man that you are, not for the football aspect. So if you want to come to Texas, you got a scholarship waiting. So I was going to be able to go there regardless on full ride. Ended up coming back. That's when I switched my position. So I went full circle to give you how I got to tackle.
Yeah, but how was that? I mean, that's an amazing story.
Yeah, man,
how was that though? Like going from tight end to a lineman. I mean, that's a big jump. I mean, you're obviously a big guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be the size of the linemen that these guys are, especially on the Steelers, I mean, you got some big boys.
So the thing is, the transition was fun because like regular linemen, they have to eat a certain way to lose weight. Right. I had to eat to gain. So I was eating every goddamn thing that I came across.
You must have been on the same thing because I went to school with Mike Williams, another guy y'all played with.
Yep.
Big Mike used to come and pick me up like this in the hallway, and I'm like, man, Mike, come on, man. That ain't even funny.
Yeah, man.
But Mike was not as big as he was by the time he finished his first year at UT.
Yeah.
He came back, I mean, he'd grown like 2 more inches.
Yep.
He wasn't the chubby big guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was starting to get ripped up.
So
by the time he graduated, I mean, he gets drafted by the Bills, and he ends up being like the second biggest man in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was a big dude. Athletic. He was a monster.
Yeah.
Athletic, man. So Mad Dog, Jeff Madden, he just made the Hall of Fame for strength coaches. Shout out to Mad Dog. Man, he was very big into heavy lifting and explosive power. So a lot of the stuff we did was that. Dude, we had steaks, potatoes. I'm talking about, when we talk about steaks, bro, we're not talking about the stuff you get at the H-E-B, bro. We're talking about 100% premium beef.
Yeah.
Red McCombs used to take us as the team to his ranch, and we would be looking at the cows, and then they'd be on our plate. So it was
That's awesome.
It was like we ate like kings, man, and so that, I think you can contribute that to the way we worked out and the way our meal plans were. And that's how we got the size. So I went in at 275. I was a 270-pound tight end when I got in. I moved to tackle. I put on 25 pounds. Within 6 to 7 months, I was 295. I was the backup tackle behind Jonathan and Justin Blaylock.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So yeah, I mean, they did us right as it pertains to getting us strong and getting us explosive. Man, we were some big boys, but we were big boys that could move. They did well. I think
you had to with Vince behind you.
Yeah, we had to move. Man. But the beauty about Vince is that if there was, it made pass blocking easier because you have to rush to contain. So if you have to rush as a defensive end to contain, that means that I'm always going to win because I know where you're going. You can't go inside. I had Casey Studdard big ass inside to be able to knock anybody out if they wanted to do that. So I always overset. And B, if you gave up outside containment to Vince, this is a 6'5" deer running down the sideline. You saw him.
Yeah,
you saw how he moved in college. He's one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time.
That USC game, I said it last week. I mean, that's still to this day in my lifetime one of the best college football games, maybe even NFL games I have ever witnessed in my life. Like, that was just something that was absolutely poetic and beautiful. Even as not being a Longhorn fan, I mean, That was
You're an honorary Longhorn fan.
Yeah, they make me say that since I moved to Texas. Because, see, I didn't go to college.
Okay.
So, not going to college, I moved every 3 years growing up.
Yeah.
I lived in a lot of really good college towns and stuff like that, or very nearby. And I always supported the local teams. It wasn't until I moved here in into my sophomore year in '96 where all of a sudden it mattered. They were like, well, you can't be an OU and a Texas fan. I was like, yeah, I can. They only play one time a year.
You don't have that affiliation.
And they're like, well, no, you can't. And I was like, well, fine. I was born in Oklahoma. My grandfather was a Sooner fan, so I'll be a Sooner fan. But, I mean, I live in a house divided. I mean, man, I have this god-awful hat. My wife tries to bet me. Every time she thinks the Longhorns are going to win, she'll try to bet me, and it's that she gets to burn this hat.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought this thing when I was like 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
It's a Gilligan bucket hat out of terry cloth. I mean, it looks like something NASCAR threw out.
Yeah.
And even a Sooner fan wouldn't wear it. But Longhorn fans hate it so much.
Yeah.
I hide it during the year until that game.
Yeah.
And then it's whether or not she feels bold enough to bet on burning the hat, or whether or not she has to pay up.
Well, I'll tell you what, you better not bet this year.
I think I'm gonna have to keep that one locked up for this year, because I think it's gonna be a close game. I think
so too. I think so too, man. We took a tough loss last week with Texas Tech, man. But I look at it and I say, man, we're dealing with a lot of injuries. We're dealing with a bunch of young guys. I mean, 3 out of the 5 offensive linemen that are starting are freshmen, and they're dogs. I love it. So I think that we're on the right track. We just got to learn how to win and how to finish games. And then once we get Ewers back, I think that it's going to be a different story, because I don't know what the fuck it is with Alabama knocking out our starting quarterbacks, bro. I cannot, bro, fuck, we just stop playing their ass, bro. Put the backup in first.
At least you weren't like somebody that paid a team to come in and demolish you.
That's true. That's true. But I feel like, let's reverse the strategy. When we play Alabama again, start the backup quarterback, let them knock his ass out, and then let's put our starter in the game and see if maybe we can get a fucking starter.
I still thank y'all for last year, because I was not a fan of Rattler.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, like, this kid's garbage. Like, the team's not behind him.
Yeah.
Like, he said so many things when he went out on whatever that U show was.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was all about him.
Yep.
And those linemen weren't going to back him up. I mean, you saw it. The minute they changed quarterback, I told my wife, I was like, this is a game changer right here. Y'all are in trouble now.
Yeah.
Because they're going to play for him.
Yep.
And sure enough, man, it was one of the greatest comebacks in our rivalry right there.
It was crazy, man.
But that was good to see. Well, let's get back to that. I mean, I kind of jumped off. We jumped off there a little bit. But some of the coaches. Whether it's,
Mike Tomlin.
Personal fit.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin. So when we get to Mike Tomlin, obviously the standard is the standard. That's high. The one that I really love and I teach my kids today, and I really live my life by, is no excuses, no explanations, only results, right? And as a man, I really hone in on that, because that, to me, so I've been studying Stoicism, right?
Yeah.
To be able to endure all the hardness but not show emotion behind it, right? No matter what's going on, no matter what pain you're dealing with, you still stand up tall. And I truly believe that, shoulders were meant to carry burdens, right? And so when you think about that statement, no excuses, no explanations, only results, at the end of the day, the latter two, the first two don't matter, The other one is next man up. I really love that, because that's a mentality to where if you're not the guy, you're literally, in my journey in the NFL, I was one play away from being the guy on any team I played on, because I was a starter for some teams, I was a backup for some teams, and as a backup you have to be engaged, because you can first quarter, second quarter, and then third quarter, boom, starters out, you got to get ready to go, and the expectation is for you to play just as well, if not better, than the guy that's in front of you, because there's no drop-off. That's the reason they pay you the money. There's no drop-off. You got to be a professional. And so it's been those type of lessons that I've learned from him as a Super Bowl, winning coach.
I like that you said stoicism too. I'm a big fan. Like, I got asked this question on a podcast I was recently on about if I could go back to any point in time, what would I choose?
Yeah.
And I said Marcus Aurelius time period, because I've been fascinated with that point in history. And stoicism is something that fascinates me as well. There's a lot of great lessons, I think, there for business and life.
It is. And the thing is that you have to really, so I'm a history minor, so you have to really place yourself in that time period. How does one get that information? How do you get information to be able to pass down to people?
Right. Just
your experience. You would have had to have gone through some shit to sit back and say,
and reflect on that.
This is what I believe after going through all the shit that I've been through. So when you look at that time period, bro, it was crazy. Yeah, obviously diseases were happening. You had wars taking place. It was just a really crazy time, right? And I don't like to use the word bad time because who knows what is good and what is bad. Have you heard that proverb? Who knows what is good? Oh man. So there was a guy who had a son, and him and his son had a farm, right?
Okay.
And one day it was this beautiful horse that roamed into their farm, and they were able to corral it and take it in. And the whole town came out, oh my God, you guys have the most beautiful horse. This horse is gonna be able to do all the work for you. It was a strong buck. You guys are gonna be wealthy. And the old man said, who knows what is good and what is bad? But it was a wild horse. So the next time, the son went out to tame the horse. And while he was trying to tame the horse and break it in and ride it, he fell off the horse and broke his leg. And the townspeople came out to console the old man. Oh my gosh, this is your only son. How are you going to be able to maintain the farm? You're too old to do the horse. And he broke his leg. What are you going to do? This is so bad. The old man said, who knows what is good and what is bad? The next month later, a war broke out. And they were taking all the sons in the villages. And so when they came to the old man's house to get his son, he had a broken leg. And so the townspeople came out and said, oh my God, you're so lucky. Our sons are gone. Your son, because of his leg, wasn't able to go to war. He's going to be safe. You know what the old man said?
Who knows what's good and bad?
You just got to let life happen.
Yeah.
You got to let life happen, bro. And I truly believe that. And I feel like that is a huge lesson on what Stoicism is. Being able not only to endure hardships, but allowing life to take its course and to stay consistent on that ride. I think that if a lot of us did that, if a lot of men did that, a lot of problems that we have in our life would go away. Because how many times have we made decisions based off our emotions?
A lot. That's probably one of the hardest things to not do.
Yeah.
In the heat of the moment, to not let yourself go there.
Mm-hmm.
To sit back and reflect on it before saying something or reacting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to just talk about football because you have a lot of other passions.
Yeah, we're here, man.
Other things. Yeah, I mean, I could talk to you about football all day long. I mean, we've said and had a lot of great conversations about football. But you also are the owner of STATT Financial Services.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And a big thing to you, and this seems to be really common. I don't know if it's just the former players that I happen to know or what, but man, so many of you are very driven and I don't know if it's just because of, and I'm sure you're going to have a really good answer for this.
Mm-hmm.
I can already see the wheels turning, but was it the lack of what y'all were taught growing up or how you were treated once you became an NFL player? Combination of both, maybe, I don't know, but several of you are really, really strongly committed to educating others, not just athletes, but others on financial wealth and financial education.
Yeah, well, it's a couple of things. Well, to answer your question, I'll start there. It's actually both. And so when you talk about from an athlete's perspective, when you realize that about 87% of athletes that retire from that 3.5 years average, they have accumulated, even from the practice squad up, over $3 million easily, right? Or made $3 million. Now, what they net, that is what it is. And so when you look at that and you see that 87% of those in 2 to 12 years are either in a financial crunch or they're completely bankrupt, you know something's wrong, right?
Yep.
And so being in the NFL and seeing, because I didn't come from money. So being able to see, I know guys that were playing and living check to check, and their checks were $300,000-$400,000 a week, every 2 weeks. It's crazy, right? And it's just because we don't understand how money works. So for me, I always was somebody that would talk to, the financial department or talk to people that were doing investments because I didn't know about any of this stuff.
Right.
So I always found it fascinating. And if I could go back and change my major, it would be in the finance and business. Now, it just so happened it became in learning and applied development. So I've joked with people and say I actually went to school to learn how to learn. It's bode well for me now.
History taught you a lot too.
It did.
That's a good foundation. I feel like either way.
It is because now I'm the guy that I'm the guy that's up at 10 o'clock at night looking, typing in how did the 1929 stock market crash take place. I want to know. Right, because history repeats itself, and when you start to see what's going on financially, you can see what's coming. And I think that if you're able to see what's coming, you can prepare for it. Right? If I'm walking across the street and I look both ways, oh shit, there's a car coming. Let me stop. If I walk across the street and I'm just minding my own business and not looking anywhere, I'm getting my ass knocked out. Right? And I feel like that's the same way when we talk about finance. So my commitment and my goal is to be able to educate. I say our company is eliminating the fear of financial worry from the minds of the masses. And how we do that is we teach a concept called financial foundational leverage. And I can go into that later, but the reality of the situation is there are systems that the wealthy have in place, and they live on a different set of rules than 99% of us do. Right? And if you're able to understand the game, a lot of us are playing checkers when the game is really chess. And so when you're able to understand the game, right, or if they're putting a game in front of you, and you have the wrong game and the wrong pieces, you fucking swipe the board and let's play the right game.
Start over, yeah.
Let's play the game.
Let's get
right?
a new set of rules.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing, and I think why you see a lot of athletes pushing this is because, to be quite frankly, in my opinion, I think the NBA really started it. The NBA really started the whole, the name, image, and likeness. You started seeing a lot of those guys brand themselves, and it started with that branding. Right. Branding. is huge.
Jordan. It started all the way back to Jordan at least.
Exactly. That NFL wasn't really doing that, and now you see these younger guys that are in these positions that are starting to do that more. So now when we talk about financial education, you have to realize, like, this goes back, man, like at least a century. Like, there's a running joke that said if Benjamin Franklin was to come out of the grave, he wouldn't recognize anything in the world but the school system. That is for a reason. Like, they don't teach you about financial literacy and financial education in school because they need to continue to create workers.
Right.
And if everybody knew that the tax code, if it was from floor to ceiling, about your ankle height, is about how to pay taxes. The rest of that book is about how to avoid them, because tax avoidance is actually encouraged. There's IRS tax codes that literally are in the book to show you how to avoid taxes and defer them in perpetuity or forever.
You just got to be willing to search it out and gain that knowledge.
But it's hard to do that.
Yeah, because it's not easily accessible. It's a lot buried into...
It is actually easily accessible. But you know what else is easily accessible? Super Bowl Sunday. Championship Monday.
Yeah.
Right? The BET Awards. Right?
Occupy your mind.
Yeah, you have all these different distractions. The stock market is going crazy. Who cares about the stock market? My thing is this. I dibble and dabble in the stock market, but not with my own money. But I'm not putting a lot of money into a product that I know that has consistently been proven to be manipulated. That doesn't make sense to me. Right? So if I understand these things, then I need to spend my time studying on what are the rules to the game that Buffett plays.
Right.
What are the rules to the game, and we can go all the way to that Ray Kroc plays. What are the rules to the game that a Melvin Nunnery plays, right? All of these different players that have built their wealth, because when you look at it statistically, I think they say about 70 to 80% of millionaires did not come from wealth.
I'm just really glad you haven't, and maybe you have. If you have, I don't know about it because I tried to do my research. Mm-hmm. I'm just really glad you haven't written a book yet. Because when I found out Jay Scott had written a book with somebody, I read that book in one day. And that's probably the first time I've read a book of any size. Like, usually I digest like a chapter, and I'll have to take notes, really digest it, and then I'll keep moving on. Because I don't really read for personal enjoyment a whole lot. Like, I want to learn something. I'll get something I can gain from it. That's why I started this podcast. Because, these conversations that I have with people back here at the lounge or just in my profession I felt like others could gain from and that they could learn stuff. So that's really the whole reason I started this.
Let me ask you this. What do you think the majority of your audience is made out of? Would you say it's the common man? Would you say that it's the sports enthusiast? Like, what would your market be?
I think it's pretty wide open right now. I mean, this is the 3rd episode, so I really don't have a lot of data to tell me yet.
So let's talk to them all.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got a wide variety. I mean, you're going to have people from, the demographic is, if I had to guess from what I've seen so far, is about 25 to 65.
Love it.
With a big group in the 30 to 45
Love it.
range right there.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're going to have people from all aspects of that.
Yeah. Okay. So from the 25, we'll go, if you're 25 to 30, we're talking about books. Let's go Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Let's go Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Great book.
For the black community, I want to speak to them. Let's go to The Black Tax by Rochester. If you're 30 to 45, let's go Grunch of Giants by R. Buckminster.
I've not read that one.
That's a great book. We can go into Nelson Nash, What Would the Rockefellers Do? That's a good one. And I forgot if the 65-year-olds, it's a book called, I forgot who wrote it, but it's dealing with the retirement tax. I'd have to get that and send it over. We can maybe drop it in the comments. But there's so many books that are available. For the 65-year-olds that have money, you want to know one of the things that they deal with?
What's that?
If they don't have an heir to pass it to, and they're needing to get on Medicaid because they're getting ready to hit that space.
Right.
They start to sell off their wealth. They have to diminish their wealth to be able to qualify for the Medicaid. But there's actually a system for them to be able to put their wealth into a particular trust. Now the trust owns it, so when the IRS or the Medicaid people go back and look into their finance, they can't find anything which qualifies them for Medicaid. So you can figure out how to pass your wealth down, or who you want to pass it to, or if you just want to have the trust have a foundational situation set up. Man, there's so many ways. For the 25-year-old.
Okay, so that just made me think something.
Talk to me, because I'll run.
I don't have kids.
Okay,
I mean, I have lots of nieces and nephews. I know you have 3 kids.
I got 4.
Oh, you got 4 now?
Yeah, I got my daughter, man. I can't forget my princess. That's the last of the Mohicans.
That's it?
Right there. Yeah.
We're calling it quits? 4?
I don't know if I'm going to call it quits, but we're gonna take a hiatus.
All right, hiatus. All right. If you could give your kids and you could leave them with one piece of financial advice, one, what would you leave them with? Don't do what the wealthy say to do. Do what the wealthy do. I like that.
That's what I would tell them. The wealthy gonna tell you all types of stuff. Why? Because I don't want you to get up here.
Yeah.
Right? Now, not all of them. Some of the most generous people that I've met are millionaires, billionaires. But you have some people that really just don't want that pie to be shared.
Understandable. Right? I mean, that's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, that's a lot of opportunity for you to educate there.
It is. Man, listen, that's what I live for, man. Like, when you bring value to people, then the sales will come.
Yeah.
And I'm in a situation where I'm in a kind of niche market. And so I don't need to have a lot of value. I like more quality over quantity, but I definitely want to educate in a quantitative manner, right? And that's why, and I appreciate you, liking the post, but that's why I started the Legacy Blueprint on Facebook.
Yeah.
That whole thing is about being able to pump as much free financial information with strategy to people, because the thing is, you can go on YouTube and you're going to hear a million people talk.
Yeah.
Do this, do that, do this with your money, do this, do that. At the end of the day, there's a lot of different strategies. Because I'm a competitive person, I believe that we have the best one, right? Because what we teach is how to capitalize your principle and then leverage OPM or other people's money to live your lifestyle. This is the thing that I've seen. Majority of people live on a system that deals with input and output, right? You go to work, you have a business, whatever. Money comes into your world and money leaves. But what I've found out from the wealthy people, and they're probably not gonna like me giving away their secret, but they never spend their own money. So money comes into their world, they warehouse it or capitalize it, leverage it for other people's money, and then they go spend it the same way that we do.
And I think a lot of people too, I mean, I can speak for myself too, is something I've grasped recently, and I think it was from Jonathan's book. Pay yourself. Like so many people, I mean, you work so hard for a paycheck and you earn this money.
Miss that light bill to pay yourself.
You spend that money and you pay your bills and you do all these things, but you don't actually pay yourself forward. Like,
miss that light bill to pay yourself
forward a little bit.
You can sleep in the dark and get candles. I mean, at the end of the day, because the thing is, you got to look at it like, say you missed a payment, right? And you decided to say, you know what, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to put it back. I don't care what happens. Well, if you paid it and you were short and you missed the next month and you weren't able to pay it, guess what? The same results are going to happen. So I might as well keep it for myself. And that's one of the things, I believe it was, it might have been one of the things that happened in Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's what he talked about. Like, hey, we were willing to suffer the consequences to pay ourselves, and you see where he is at now. The lie that I believe that the government pushes is we talk about debt, right? Get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt. The irony behind that is that this country is trillions of dollars in debt.
Right.
The currency that we use is actually a debt instrument. So then if that's the case, then it would behoove me to understand, okay, if we're in debt as a country, we use an instrument that's dealing with debt, then I probably just need to figure out what kind of debt makes me money as opposed to what kind of debt loses me money. And if we can figure that out and switch
I like that right there. What kind of debt makes me money?
Yeah, right. The easiest go-to is real estate.
Yeah.
And what was it? I think it might have been Grant Cardone that talked about when he went bankrupt the first time and the banks were coming for him. The mistake that he made was he didn't borrow enough money. Because when you only borrow $500,000 to $1 million and you can't pay that back, dude, you got a problem. But if I borrow $500 million to $600 million, then the bank has a problem, right?
Yeah, they're going to do everything in the world.
Now I have a business partner.
Right? Yeah, you got somebody signed up for life there.
So we got to think bigger. We have to think bigger. And this is the thing. That's for people that have maybe, huge aspirations. They want to be, and I don't like to use the word filthy rich, but want to be sustainably wealthy, right? Yeah. And the thing is when I look at it, and I've talked to, a lot of different wealthy people, 6, 7, 8-figure, 9-figure earners. You know what it is about them, man, especially on the golf course. That's where they go. I found them. Guys, I found them. They're at the golf course. You go to Top Golf, go to the driving range, work on your swing. You're going to go over there and find them at the golf course.
So you're getting pretty salty at golf, too?
Man, I'm about to. To. If I get these shoulders right, I got some labrum tears. I got to figure it out on my swing. But, I'm just out there having a good time. But I will say that what I've seen is that when you talk to them, and they really tell you this, and as somebody that's trying to come up, you might listen to it and be like, yeah, that's because you have the money. But no, really, for them, it was never about the money. It was about the freedom of choice and then time freedom.
Exactly.
That's why they
Time freedom is crucial, I think.
I'll share a story with you, man. There was a guy who was talking about his family and his come up and everything like that. And he told a story of a child that he had a father, and the father really loved him. He was his only child. He did everything with him. It was like his best friend. And so as he's going through this story, he talks about how his child was raised, how the father made sure he had all the, the nutritional things that he needed, because he had some money.
Right.
And, some things happen. The father loses the money, and then the child gets sick. And so now what happens is, as the child is getting sick, the father is starting to come back on the rise. And so now the child gets so sick that there's only one operation that can literally save that child's life. And so as we're sitting there like, damn, did the child make it? Did the son make it? And we're looking at the story. He flips the picture, and the man is him, and the child is his own. And the child is alive. And he said it was money that saved my child's life. So we got to start looking, we got to start having a different relationship. We have to start looking at it like, money doesn't make you happy. Well, neither does being broke. So if I'm going to be unhappy, I might as well be unhappy with money.
Yeah.
Let's change the thought process, because that thought process is great for the government.
And see, I like this approach, and I'm glad you're sharing all this, because
Absolutely.
so many financial guys, and I'm not dogging this, and I know it has its place and time too, because I know you're a big proponent of this too, when it fits right.
Correct.
So many financial people will just sit here and talk to you about, well, you need life insurance.
Yeah.
And life insurance can be portrayed by a lot as just like, when I die, here's the money.
Correct.
And what I'm learning as I'm educating myself on this is there's a lot of other applications for life insurance.
Absolutely.
Now, the healthier you are, yes, it behooves you to be healthier.
Correct.
And to do the right things, because then you're going to pay less.
Yeah.
But it is not just a life and death thing here. No. And it's not just covering your funeral expenses and stuff. Mm-hmm. There's actually several tools.
Yeah.
But maybe you can talk to that a little bit, because I know there's a lot of people, I mean, myself included. Mm-hmm. I've got, I know 3 or 4 of you guys that all do this.
Yeah.
I've got 2 or 3 other people I know, and I've got some guys I've worked with for a long time.
Yeah.
And every time they bring that up, there's very few that can bring it up and not make you cringe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, they instantly make you think it is just life
death is
or
coming.
Death. Danger's coming. We got to get you life insurance. Let's do this right now. And it's like, but the art of explaining how it can be a tool.
Yes.
And that it's a multifaceted tool. Absolutely. And not just this one-way street of life and death.
If you look at creating wealth and you talk about portfolios, so I tell people all the time, I'm a wealth strategist. I'm not a life insurance agent. You have to understand the difference. So a lot of those guys come from systems that are kind of MLM-ish, right? And to be quite frank with you, all businesses operate this way, right? But the thing is that they're always pushing one particular product. The thing for me is because I didn't grow up in the industry. Now, I love the industry, but I didn't grow up in the industry, so I'm unbiased. Right? I'm going to use whichever tool I need to use to help my client. So what I do is I don't write life insurance for the death benefit, because that's what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
I write it for the cash value. So what I'm saying is, and this is the whole Nelson Nash bank on yourself, you should get that. And then also, I'm glad we came back to this. And then What Would the Rockefellers Do by Nelson Nash. Those 2 books give you some understanding on how you can leverage life insurance. But the strategy is simply this. If you make $70,000 a year, right? And you are able to put your monthly income into a cash value policy, right? And let's just say that cash value policy earns you 5%.
Okay.
You're already making more than you're going to make in the banks. Now, the thing that this is where life insurance agents get it mixed up with a lot of individuals, because they're saying, okay, well, I don't have the extra income at the end of the month. Well, the thing is, you can borrow against that cash value. So if I'm making $5,000, right, and let's say I got a credit card, and the credit card has a limit of $3,000, what bills can I pay for the $3,000, right? Great, I'm going to put these bills on the credit card. I'm going to put $3,000 into my cash value, let it be credited to the cash value aspect, and then I'm going to take a policy loan against it and then pay off the credit card. But what's going to happen is, by the end of the year, almost half of your income would have flowed through this policy, and now you're getting $36,000 at a 5% return. So you're going to get a check off of that, even though you spent all that money. That's the goal. The goal is to understand what strategies can I put in place. Now, this is the beautiful thing. It doesn't, for how we work, it doesn't matter what the client makes. We can do this for $50 a month. Now, it's going to bring a lower return, right? But it's better than nothing. And now the thing is that we use this as what's called a banking policy, because we're using it as we're removing the banks and we're putting ourselves where the bank is at. The banks do this, by the way. If your viewers are listening, look up BOLI, B-O-L-I, bank only life insurance contracts. They actually take y'all money, because I don't use banks like that, but they actually take money from the consumers, put it into the market, and then they insure it. So if their bank falls, then the insurance can pay all the patrons out. But then they go and make trillions of dollars on your money, and they pay you less than 1%. So we're saying remove the bank, put yourself there, and now you pay yourself that 5%. or that 10.
So let's pause because we're at about the hour mark.
I like
right here.
it. Let's do it.
Let's tell people, in case any of you fall off and aren't intrigued with this conversation here.
I don't know how
that could be happening.
I don't either. I just gave y'all
But just
game.
in case, what if people want to like reach out or find you or work with you? Like, where do they find you, Tony?
Industrial Cigars, right over here.
Yeah, we're here right now. You can come find us right now.
No, shout out to Dave. That's free pub, Dave. I want to get in here whenever I need to, man. And I got to go to your garage. No, so you can find me.
I want to go to Dave's garage.
I'm going to Dave's garage. I already told him.
I mean, Dave, I've heard all kinds of stories. I'm up here all the time. I mean, my wife gives me hell all the time. So you're up there 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yep, because this
is part of my family up here. You know, like, I mean, they've created this atmosphere.
We're doing man stuff.
It's amazing.
We're up here doing man stuff. But no, STATT Financial. So STATT financial.info is my website. People can connect with me there. Also on I'm on all platforms, but the two that I'm mostly on is Instagram and Facebook. So you can find me at Tony the Tycoon on Instagram. And then, like I said, I'll send them to my group. My group is Legacy Blueprint. The Legacy Blueprint on Facebook.
That's a new one. Y'all need to get in on that. Because he might decide to close that down or something. Hey, you can keep it open. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, he posts some really good stuff. I mean, aside from his workout pictures, I mean, he does post a lot of that on there too.
Yeah, you got to keep yourself healthy as we're smoking cigars and drinking liquor.
Yeah.
But balance it out, right? It's all about balance. But
how are you liking this?
Man, this is freaking. You
asked for Elijah Craig.
That's my thing, man. You know, we got the private barrel here, man.
And this is one of my buddies' groups. They're called the Locals. It's probably my favorite group to be a part of. Between them and Someone Say Whiskey, you know, those are my two right there. This is their recent pick they did.
Nice. Shout out to Someone Say Whiskey, man. I'm definitely a part of that group. Where Rodney and those guys got going on. My man Randy.
Good guys.
Yeah, man, they're doing their thing, man.
Yeah, I went to high school with Randy.
You did?
And his wife. I mean, more his wife because Randy's a little bit older than me.
Randy, you're old. You look good for your old age.
He's old, but he's
Randy
ripped and buff and tough.
He lifts a lot of goddamn weight. I'll tell you that much. But no, that's where they can find me. So statfinancial.info, Tony the Tycoon on IG, and then the Legacy Blueprint. Because from there, they'll be able to flow to all the other platforms. You know, I'm actually going to start a YouTube channel where I'm going to be educating
people. I wish you the most luck with that. Man, out of this journey of starting a podcast, I'm telling you right now, that has been the toughest part of this.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not the one.
Even if you have people doing it for you, I'm telling you, every time you click on, I set this up 3 months ago, minimum.
Yeah.
I've had to put in all kinds of verifications.
Yeah.
They wanted my driver's license, all this stuff to be able to go live. Did all that. Before the first week. Then they said, well, that's going to take 24 hours.
I'm fine with
Couldn't
it.
go live. Then last week, we did the same thing. Then we had the live button, clicked it, didn't work. They actually put a timer, 24-hour on it once we clicked it. And then it was like, we can't go live. I can actually post there now, though. So, like, even though I know I said today we would be live on YouTube again, sorry, folks. YouTube did not allow us to do that again with the platforms and everything. So this will be posted to our YouTube channel and Spotify and iTunes and all that like we've been setting up. But YouTube, bro. It's a beast, man. You'd think they'd make it a lot easier for you to get your stuff out there and participate in their platform.
I don't understand. So one of my executive assistants, she's also our chief media officer. I don't understand that world. I have a team, man. I come from a team background. I'm gonna play to my strengths, right?
That's exactly
I'm a great tackle. I'm a good guard. I want to play tackle. Right, so I'm gonna put those in strength to handle that. And
you don't ever have a desire to play tight end?
No, man, no
tight end.
I like hitting people. I no longer want to be hit.
All right,
so I'm good.
I can understand that.
Yeah, so I let the team handle that. And the thing is, with what I'm building, I remove instant gratification. I flock towards delayed gratification. So if it takes a little while, we have all the other platforms. When it gets set up, it's set up, and then we can flow it. So I'm cool with it. But I appreciate that knowledge. That'll let me know.
I'm just telling you, man. Like, because I tried to do this. Like, this literally started off with me having. I write a lot. I'm either all in or all out on it. I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be. My father got me started on this Franklin planner when I was like 16 when I got my first C.
Nice.
Because he was a Franklin Planner instructor for the RTC and
That's
FDIC.
his thing.
And he got me honest, man. I carried that big ass book around with me forever, planning my whole life out, like day to day.
How's that going?
It's pretty good. I mean, but I got to get back into that routine a little bit there.
Write the vision and make it
plain. Writing it.
Write the vision and make it plain.
Write something down, it just has this ability to stick more.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do that more. But when I looked back on the ideas around this, I first started out thinking I was going to have a blog because I wanted to, bridge the gap between my job where I sell construction and the project management portion, and getting the owners and managers engaged in more conversation, because we always talk about I want to know what they're thinking on the other side. Yeah. How's that meeting go down? Why did they make this decision?
Yeah.
And it started out like that, but I could not commit to writing a blog and putting something there every week.
Yeah.
Didn't stick. I wasn't passionate about it.
Yeah.
I could not get into that. And then when I got into some of these podcasts, I was like, okay, I really enjoy this. I think it's a great platform. I love talking to people.
Yep.
And I have been fortunate enough to meet a lot of really great people that are from a lot of different backgrounds. To where I feel like if I put this out there and people are able to gravitate towards it, somebody's going to learn something from this. Because these are great conversations. And I don't want to have the conversation where it's just a straight up interview. I mean, I can sit here and talk to you about football all day, but I don't want to just talk to you about football. You've done a million interviews about football. But you're doing things now in your second career, and you're putting these things out there, and these are great conversations to have. So I did the same thing. Shout out to my producer Biz, who had us completely on time today.
He did.
Although y'all will argue with me about that because I said 6. I'm gonna have to start saying 6-ish. Because the ish always happens. It's impossible. But build the team. I don't know squat about all these platforms. I thought I knew about social media until I started doing this.
But people go to school for that.
I thought I knew about hashtags and how important they were, but they're way more important than I ever thought they were. I mean, they drive the Google search engines and stuff. So learning this and putting myself around all these other great people that have been doing that is helping me tremendously with this. So
you talk about the SEO systems and algorithms and all of those particular things. I'm learning those things. Still will never do those
Which
things.
is harder, the financial stuff or that?
That. And I'm gonna tell you because that is not a passion. That is a nuisance. So anything that's a nuisance, I put the people that love it as a passion in play of that. But man, no, I think the platform is going to continue to grow, going to continue to expand. I definitely encourage people to share, let other people know about what's going on.
Likewise.
We'll put that on our platform when we have the videos and everything out. At the end of the day, man, and it's crazy because we're talking about passion. I heard Garrett Reed, he went against the whole thing about where people think about, man, just make the money first and find your passion later. And I kind of agree with Gary when he says, no, find your passion and find a way to turn it into income. I like that thought process because when you're passionate about something, when I wake up, man, nobody has to tell me, hey, man, go read this 643-page book about trust. Nobody has to tell me that. I love that. I want to know because I feel like, listen, this is the cheat code. And if you ever played Super Contra, up, down, left, right, select start, A, B, select start. If you understand that and you that's the wormhole. People want to get to wealth. Well, if you want to get to there just a little bit faster, if you think about a wormhole, right? We could be standing on this side right now. Right? And if we want to get to the other side of this building, we'd have to get up, walk around, go through a couple doors, walk around some people. But if there was a wormhole and a suction that pulled us through, we would be able to walk straight through that wormhole and get there like that, right? That's the way that you can get to wealth when you know how. The path is already laid out.
But you have to educate yourself.
You definitely do.
And it's the desire and the want to.
Well,
a lot of people don't know which way to turn. They want it, but they don't know what their passion is. I mean, I can personally say I struggle. What is my passion? What am I passionate about? And it's I'm 42 years old. Still trying to figure that out. But it's when this started hitting for me, all right, let's roll with it. Let's see what it turns into. Kind of the Gary Vee mentality. Of I don't know. Maybe this is just a fun hobby. maybe this turns into something. Don't know, don't care. But I'm going to put out the best content that I think I can put out. And learn what I can learn along the way with great people like you on my side.
Appreciate
you know,
it,
sitting here and being able to talk about stuff like this.
Yeah, man. It's really about. I think that if more, you know what I don't think people do a lot, in my opinion. I don't think people self-reflect. I don't think people sit back and meditate and think about what's going on in their life currently. What went on in the past to get them to where they're at.
I think that's another one of those scary words. I think people, when you say meditate, they just think of the Buddhist Zen that you have to do this whole process.
Yeah, that's not it.
And you can't just sit back and reflect.
That's
you can't sit back, enjoy a cigar, have a drink, and take the personal time to reflect. Just like take the personal time to pay yourself. This right here, more than anything, when you have one of these by yourself, the reason why I got into cigars, and I'm a rookie in the game, and it feels good to be a rookie again. Right.
But the reason why I got into cigars is because I started realizing this is a commitment. Like if you say to yourself, I'm going to smoke a stick.
Yeah.
Like you're going to sit down, you're going to get your drink, you're going to get your pour. You're going to get in somewhere comfortable. And like you're going to sit back and you're going to really reflect on life. And
for at least an hour.
At least.
A minimum of an hour. That's an hour commitment at the minimum.
I love when the wife is in bed, the kids are in bed, and I go and I spark up a nice cigar. And I'm on the patio and I'm in my favorite little comfy chair. Man, and I'm just strategizing and just thinking about life. I think about one of the things that I wish I would have done that I didn't do when I played is I did a little bit in the big moments, which I'm thankful for. I'm glad God gave me that insight. But man, I didn't reflect enough on the journey. And one of the things, going back to Mike Tomlin, that he used to say is that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Here's another thing that I love that he taught me. He said that we have, and it's from a poem, but he says we have miles to go before we sleep and miles to go before we sleep. And if you really think about what that means, you'll slow down. You'll stop rushing. America really is into the rush life. When you leave this country and you go to other places, for instance, I was a 14-year-old kid when I first left the country. I went to Barcelona.
Good, you're bringing up travel. This is somewhere man. I wanted to go and talk about.
Let's talk about it. Let's travel. So I went to Barcelona. I went to Spain when I was 14. I was on the Junior Olympics.
That is one of my, first of all, that is one of the first places I ever got to travel to outside the U.S. just in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Spain. I've said to my wife numerous times, if I can make the same amount of money I make right now, and I guess I need to make this a goal.
Yeah.
You could throw me in Barcelona or Madrid. Yeah. And my wife spent some time there in college.
Yeah.
But
I could go there
because they got to figure it out.
Yeah.
They work enough to live.
Yeah.
They don't live to work. And they take the proper holidays. You don't see the stress factor walking through the streets or anything. Like, it is a beautiful, beautiful place where you can sit back and really enjoy things. So I love that you brought up Spain.
I got a story about that.
I can't believe you got to go there at 14. That's amazing.
So what it was the Junior Olympics. I got to play ball for and represent the United States in the Junior Olympics. So we went to Barcelona, Valencia, and Madrid. And when I was 14,
this is like dream team time, right?
Yeah, man. This was in '99, 2000. And so what I got to experience and witness, is I saw kids that didn't have shoes. I saw kids with dirty hair, their teeth were kind of messed up, but bro, they were having the time of their life playing soccer in the streets, kicking me the ball, speaking a language that I don't understand. Here's a little sidebar. So my assistant, right, Elisha, she's Puerto Rican and she don't speak Spanish. So I don't know if that's a thing.
She sounded like she was speaking Spanish last week when I was talking to her. I'm going to throw that out there.
She might have been on one of the weather. She might have been on Elijah Craig, but so I thought that I'm just joking with her. I appreciate you, Elisha. All that you do.
She was a little under the weather last week when I first took that call with her. And I was giving her a little hard time when I talked to her the second time. I was like, man, I didn't know Tony had a man for an assistant. Like that first time she called back, she's like, I'm sorry, I can't talk. I was dying laughing. It was funny. It made my day. I needed that laugh.
I'm going to set up the meeting.
But you want another meeting? You already have a meeting.
You have the meeting set up. I mess with her. I gotta give her a hard time, but she does a lot. She does a lot for the company.
She does well for you.
Yeah, she does. She does well for us, man. We got a team, so I'm appreciative. But I went out there and I saw these kids enjoying life. And so when I came back and I looked at my surroundings and saw how everybody was living, man, I think that was a pivotal. Shout out to my boy Ryan Clark with the pivot, but that was a pivot for me. I realized that life could be, it was a couple of people. My uncle, Santana Dotson, he played with the Green Bay Packers, Brett Favre, William Henderson, Dorsey Levens, all those guys, right? Antonio Freeman, Donald Driver, all of them. Shout out to D Driver. But I got, and this is why visualizing and being able to see other people's success and not hate on it, but to actually look at it and say, man, I can do that. I can be in that vicinity. I saw that at 14, 15 years old. So when I came back, my mindset and my mentality was different because I left. So I encourage everybody to travel. Get a different perspective on life. The media is like, it boxes us in. It'd be like us living in this bubble and all we are able to see is this microphone. Right. Meanwhile, outside of this bubble, we got dinner, cigar plates and whiskey glasses and change on the table, is equipment. There's so much to see when you're able to take the blinders off.
So what is something you thought you really understood, or maybe that you had a grasp on, that through travel changed your opinion about that, or that like totally changed the way you looked at something?
I grew up in A-Leaf, Texas, which is known as the SWAT, Southwest A-Leaf, Texas. Is the southwest side of Houston, Texas. And I was always told by the OGs this is life. Like police officers harassing you, your friends dying, gangs. This is what it is. You got to learn how to cope with it. And so that's all I knew. I didn't subscribe to it, but that's what I thought it was, right?
Well, you thought that's the end game, right?
Yeah,
there.
I'm either gonna be in a gang or I'm gonna do something that I'm not supposed to do. And even though my mom told me certain things, it was like I had never seen it. When I left the country and I saw how those kids were living, but then I also saw success there too. Yeah, it's like, man, that's a lie, bro. Like that's not my destiny. That might be what you subscribe to, what you believe, but I've seen.
You want to stay in this. And not get out.
My youth pastor taught me this when I used to go to church. He said that, listen, in life you can either change your friends. It's funny, we got change on the table. You can either change your friends or change your friends. And since you can't change your friends, you might as well change your friends. And when I realized that, travel, changing my group of people that I started hanging around, it opened up my mind. I started smoking cigars because Jonathan asked me about, hey, you know about cigars? I was like, I have no clue. Right. And he started talking about it.
Yeah, it's just a conversation starter, really. I got either with yourself or with others.
With others. I got into whiskey, to bourbon. Yeah. The Bourbon Connection is a group that I'm part owner in with my man Rodney, Jai Castor, and Jared Pickens. I got into that because I had a conversation with Rodney. And Rodney was like,
COVID kind of does that too. Like that was like one of my wife gives me shit about that all the time, but like it was an outlet.
It was an outlet.
You couldn't. I'm a social person.
Alcohol sales went through the roof.
And you couldn't. No one had ever told me like you can't go out and be social. Yeah. You got to stay in your house.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that.
You can't do anything. Yeah, I wasn't either. And like that was my outlet. I had a lot of other outside circumstances that were not allowing me to do a lot of the things that I want to do, but I, with my job, I was considered an essential worker. Yep. So that allowed me to get out a little bit. But like, I was literally like, I did not do well with COVID. Like, I was not doing well with like being locked up. And can't socialize, can't do. I'm a people person. I cannot sit and do that.
Well, this is the thing, G.
But bourbon was one of those things that like, you could go out and hunt bourbon. It was like an adult treasure hunt and go find bourbon. And then there was all these bourbon clubs, and they're having these meetings and groups outside waiting for bottles to drop and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm injecting myself in that.
So that's how you got into it?
That's how I got into it. I mean, I was always a bourbon fan. Yeah. But when it came to like growing what is now my bourbon collection and all that, and I've even gone down many other roads since then with tequila and other spirits. And, you know, I met a lot of amazing, great people in this, master distillers, great people, and made great friends in these groups, man. Like, yeah, it was another outlet. It was something else.
We were born to socialize, man. We were born to be around people. Nobody, like when people talk about, oh, I'm an introvert, or, you know, I'm a recluse and all that. I mean, you might subscribe to that, but that's not your natural nature. I don't believe that. Because if that was your natural nature, then there would never be a need for you to have to be around anything. And a lot of those people, what do they have? If they're not around people, they're around pets. So then you're using that excuse of not being around people for whatever
because
reason.
You haven't learned certain social skills
and things like that. Or you don't want to be judged, whatever the case may be. But when COVID happened, the amount of suicides went through the roof. Yeah. The amount of divorces went
domestic
through the
abuse,
child abuse,
everything.
All of those things. So when you mix locking people up inside their house, cutting their pay, cutting the jobs, because the jobs were crazy, right? Yeah. And you have all of these negative things weighing. There was no way. That's why, you know, I'm not into politics, but shout out to Texas. Because Texas was the only state that was like, to hell with this. Like, we're going to give the people the choice. This, you know what it is. This is what's happening. We're opening it up. We're going to do it slowly, but we're opening it up. You guys figure it out, right? And so because of that, what do we start seeing? All these different people from all these different places started coming to Texas. Yeah. And you Californians, let me talk to you guys, man. Go back to where y'all can. Some of y'all can stay because y'all driving some hellified business to Texas. So the ones that are doing that, but the rest of y'all go back and pay them $8 gas prices.
My little brother moved out there. I mean, he was out there before, and then in the middle of COVID, moved to Hawaii. Well, yeah, rough life, but I mean, he had to like quarantine for like 2-3 weeks. It was crazy. Yeah. But let's go back to this real quick because I think this is very important. You said something a minute ago that I have found myself. I mean, I had this conversation last week with a good friend. Okay. Who's a little bit younger than me. I have a very eclectic group of friends. I have a group that's, 5-10 years younger than me. Yeah. And I have a group that can be 5-10 years older than me.
I want to kick it with that group.
Yeah. I mean, I mix it with both groups, and sometimes they mesh well. Sometimes you keep groups in their own lane. Correct. But as an athlete and everything else, choosing friends and who you let in your circle has to be very, very crucial decision for you, because figuring out people's true motives and everything else has to be a thing you battle with constantly. Yeah. And we have this conversation, I mean, I'm not a pro athlete or anything like that, but, we have this conversation, and I've noticed in my lifetime, my dad says something. I lost my dad when I was 24. He had his first heart attack when I was 14. Wow, yeah. But I remember him saying something to me when I was really young. He said, if you get to be my age and you can count your true friends on one hand, you're a very blessed man. Yeah. And at first I thought, like, man, you are crazy. I have all these friends, like, especially since I moved to Texas. Like, Texas was the easiest place I ever moved to, had to live, to make friends. Yep. They're like, oh, you have a cool accent, you know, all this stuff. Because at the time I had this Connecticut accent because I'd lived there for 3 years. Got it. And, like, my wife jokes, call me the social chameleon because you put me around something, I don't even know I'm doing it, but I will mimic whatever you're giving me. I mean, you want to go hood? You can go hood, and I'm going to, without even thinking about it, I'm going to start reflecting back because I'm just trying to fit in. And I didn't realize that about myself until my wife called me out on it. Her cousins came in from Europe, and I was talking like I'd been to Europe. And she's like, are you making fun of them? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you just said wanker and all these other dumb things, and you've never even been to Europe. I was like, I didn't even realize I said that. Like, but I was just trying to fit in. Because if you don't fit in, you're the outcast. Correct. And I've learned through moving every 3 years growing up, that ain't a fun place to be all the time. Got you. So your experience caused you to be that way. Caused me to be that way. Experiences are important. I've also known from that time period, I told my dad, I was like, you're crazy, man. I mean, I'm popular here. I have all these friends. He's like, you don't have a bunch of friends. You have a bunch of acquaintances. Yeah. And I did not understand that definition until I was like way, way older. Yeah. But even then, I still see that, like, your true friends, those ones that, you know, maybe you count on one hand, they're always going to be there. Yeah. But then your other friends and the social groups you hang out with and that you socialize with, those come and go and kind of change. Like, do you see that happening? Like, about every 5 years or so, I see that, like, you kind of, like, depending on, as you get older, it's quicker to just dismiss a lot of that. Yeah. But, like, we've had this conversation several times recently of, like, you know, that circle you surround yourself, you can either make your team great. Yep. And I'm going to use the word team again because who you run around with and who you're hanging out with is a direct reflection of you. And it's either you're going to stay right where you're at, you go down, you could go up. Yep. But if you're putting yourself around other things and pushing your limits and stuff like that, I feel like that's the only place you find true growth. How do you deal with that, and how do you find that? Because I know that's got to be a lot different from a professional athlete, because y'all have people pulling on you from every direction, trying to market you, sell you, everything else, be your best friend, you know, all that.
Well, the first thing you have to, there's multiple ways I can go with that. All right, so for me, I'm a very blessed man, because there's a old saying that you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with. You know, show me your friends, and I'll show you the man. Right. All of those type of things. Dude, I have 3 brothers, so I'm already in the game deep just off of that. Right. Shout out to Brandon James. Shout out to my brother Mike Hills, Jeremy Hills. I love you boys. But I got 3 brothers, man. So collectively, there's 4 of us. So out of there's only one more that's needed, right? So that one more can be interchangeable, right? Yeah. Right. The 5th one would be my wife, right? There you go. So there we go.
You got saved right there.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's my 5. But like, I look at it and I say, okay, I am a realist. You are not going to be around people that you cannot use or that doesn't add some sort of value to your life. Just be honest. Yeah. Right? And so now what you have to decide, and this is where the reflection comes from. Who are you? Because I had a little bit of that as well. I didn't have a father in my life. My older brother was my father figure. And so I had to try to figure out what manhood was about. This is why philosophy, for me, my foundation is it's always going to be starting with the Bible. That's my foundation. Okay. I got the Most High is my Lord and Savior. That's what I roll with. What He say, I do. That's how I move. So that's my foundation. But when you start to study philosophy and you start to dig into the lives of great men, you talked about Marcus Aurelius. I would like to go in the time period of Hannibal, because during the time of the Punic Wars, his strategy was unprecedented. All the strategy of war, even the Romans and America, all of that, the originator of those strategies was that guy, right? Yeah. And so I would like to see what that's about. But I look at that and I say, okay, who am I as a man? Once you identify that, now let's identify our weaknesses. And then if we can identify our weaknesses, let's say, okay, what brother that I can be around that is strong in my weakness, right? Yeah. That's the person that I want to hang with. That's who I'm going to get the most growth from. That's who's going to challenge me the most. So when you find a group of those guys, you hang on to those guys, right? And the thing is, the feeling is mutual. Like, I got friends, and then I got brothers. And there's a difference.
There's a big difference.
There's a difference. And then you got acquaintances. Yeah. Acquaintances are interchangeable. The friends are seasonal, but the brothers are for life. And so for me, it's really just about, who are you as a person? Do you do what you say you're going to do? And if you're a brother that happens to be in a relationship, I don't care if you're married or not, just any relationship that with the significant other, I watch how you treat that person. Because if you treat them like shit, I stand no chance. Yeah, right? Yeah, I mean, I stand no chance. So like, sure. To your question, there's people that want to be around me because of the network that I have, because of what I do, because of who I know, because of who I am, because of what I've accomplished. Absolutely. I'm aware of that. And I'm okay with that as long as there's a mutual way for me to be able to leverage what they bring to the table. Right. And if there isn't any value, then I don't want anything to do with you. And that might be harsh to some people, but that's the reality, because I know where I want to go. I know what I'm building.
You have a clear path that you've laid out for yourself.
I cannot settle for average. So if you are a negative person and you believe in average, you will not see me around you, because I cannot do it. it irritates me.
Yeah.
It like,
it's repulsive.
It's just like a stitch that you can't get off of you. Like, it's a guy out here that's causing a lot of ruckus. His name is Andrew Tate. That is a conversation. But this guy,
I've not heard that name.
Oh,
so
man,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Social media has banned this man. The YouTube, they call him a threat to society. So I said, well, let me listen, because usually what I found out is that when the media tries to tell me that somebody is a threat, when you go and you actually realize, they did it with Kevin Samuels. He's a threat to him, to women. And then I go and watch all of his, well, not all, but a lot of his content, and I'm like, well, how is he a threat? Because the same thing he's saying to women, he's saying to men, right? So he's an equal opportunity as it pertains to, hey, get your shit together, step it up, and be real about yourself. Those were the three things that, now his delivery might have been. That's what you took from it. Yeah, delivery might have been, could be different if you're, if it's hard to digest for you. But I was always taught, don't listen to the messenger. Don't listen to the way the messenger portrays the message. Listen to the message. When I listen to the message, I'm like, well, I agree with that. Well, I agree with that. Well, so what makes them bad? And what I found out is that people will scream to the mountaintops, I just want to know the truth. But then when people give you the truth, you're not ready to accept it. We as a people love being lied to. We love it.
It's true.
We love it.
It's been instilled through.
And this is me. This is how I transition a little bit. But when you get into the financial sector, they tell you the way to retirement to have a good life is to get a good job, go to school, get a good job, invest in your 401k, and then retire, and the money that you put in your 401k is what you're going to live off of. You're going to live a great life.
But not everybody has a 401k. I mean, I work for a small company. We don't have a 401k.
You have that. And then this is the thing, though. Now I start to simplify things. Why would the government institute these type of programs? All the programs that the government institute, they are able to tax. So what people don't understand, this is for all the listeners that do have it. First and foremost, you have to go back and research what was the original benefit for it. Why was it created? The second thing is, what you're going to come to find out is that they call Ted Benner the father of the 401k. He was the one that created it. 95% of Ted Benner's wealth is not even in his own creation. 95%.
That's a lot.
Of his wealth is not even in the thing that he created. But it's pushed to the masses. It's these type of things that I want people to start to realize, man, just listen, just find the simplicity of things that are being told and challenge it. That's all I want. Challenge the simplicity of what you're saying. Yeah.
At least
question it, challenge it, however we want to word it, but like think upon it, right? Just a little bit. And just ask yourself, does this really make sense? Because we're gonna make all this money. We're not gonna tax you until the end. Let's just look at farmers. If I'm a farmer and I have a bunch of seeds and I haven't planted these seeds and I'm gonna have to pay taxes, would I rather be taxed on the harvest or on the seeds? Tax me on the goddamn seeds, man. That's a little, it ain't created nothing yet. Tax me on that, right? And so like, it's those type of things that I look at. But just looking at, listen to people that have actually done something and then identify if you agree with that or not. That's the one thing that I think that we need to start doing as a people, man.
And judging thing if it's just right or wrong. Not everything has to be put in a box these days and categorized. It does. And that frustrates the living hell out of me.
You got social media to think for that.
Can we just go with what's right, what's wrong? Most people have at least a good idea of what that's about.
It's subjective.
But I know Biz gave me the sign a minute ago, and I forgot to do this with Jonathan. So I cannot forget to do this with you, and I feel like this is the perfect time to do it. So we have a little portion of this podcast that I like to call Give Me Your 2 Cents. Now, Give Me Your 2 Cents.
Give me the game on it.
Can be anything that you want to go to. It does not have to be financial. It could be personal. It could be society. It could be politics. I really don't care what it is. But something that really irks you, where you feel like people just don't have any common sense about XYZ, or that it's just something maybe that's happened in the recent times with you that like comes to mind, and give us your honest 2 cents on it.
Well, so my mission is to the people, right? The thing that irks me is how we move like sheep. We're sheeple. That irks me. Because right now, we're in the information age. You can tell me something right now, G.
Right.
And if I believe that it's bullshit, I literally can pull my phone out and research what you just
Google
told me.
it. Just a Google search.
I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna, and it's gonna touch. It's gonna touch some people. You had the country ready to go to war behind. Are you wearing your mask, or are you not wearing your mask? This is just an example of being sheeple.
Yep.
You had the government come out and say, wear your mask, you gotta wear your mask. This is gonna protect you against COVID. And you had some people that said, I don't see how that works. You know, it's airborne, these masks don't really keep things out. I don't understand. Yeah. Months go by. That same government that said that told you, and I'm not, I don't have any quarrels. I'm not me against the government. You do what you want to do. I don't care. I don't even move off of what they do. It's just the mentality.
Yeah.
That same government came out and said, well, wear your mask. It's not really going to stop anything.
Yeah.
But wear your mask anyway, right?
Yeah.
And just the amount of people.
It might help.
They came out and said that it didn't.
Well, yeah, I know, but they went from it does,
it might to it won't.
No, it doesn't really.
And so the amount of, like, you had families that were torn apart, you had relationships that were torn apart. Like, this was a real thing. And nobody just sat down and asked, hey man, what is the truth about this particular thing? What is this? How did this, it came from China. It was created in a lab. It was all these different things. It was because 5G was out. You had all these different things, and we just moved. Hey, they said do this, do this. They said do that, do that. So the thing that irks me is that in a time and space to where we literally have information at the touch of our fingertips.
At lightning speed.
At lightning speed. We still will not take the time just to sit down and study a little bit about the things that we're being told.
Or reflect on it for like 5 minutes. I mean, this same thing, man, like this was a big issue in my family. Like, I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, you know, I had family members that were going through cancer. That played a big part in it, you know, and being able to be around people. I had people that were, you know, all different medical situations that, like, it forced a lot of these tough conversations. But, like, at the same time, man, like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of let's step back and, like, can we just reflect upon what we're being told and what's been said? Yeah. And can any time go by? No, it was like, you have to do this.
Here's my point. Is COVID gone?
No.
Look how we operate now.
Yeah.
That is my point.
It's like treated like the cold now, flu.
That is my point.
And I'm not belittling anybody that
and I'm not
died
either.
Or had issues.
I didn't care which side you took.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm saying my thing was it's just about, like, respect.
Yeah. Respect each other's decisions.
I don't subscribe to what you subscribe to, and that is okay.
And that's a problem with today's society. Is
that's
like
that's the second part of the sense that I was going to.
Participation trophies
you
and stuff you can't lose.
You're in the spirit. We're on the same
you can't
page.
lose to, like you said earlier, to quote you, you're like, you know, a lot comes out of the darkness. A lot comes out of losing in life. If you don't lose, you're never gonna win. I mean, I firmly believe that. If you've never had your ass beat, you don't even know.
Listen,
I mean, you have to experience these things in life to learn and grow.
Absolutely.
And, like, you have to go through the dark. You have to go through losing. You have to go through getting your ass whipped. If you don't have anything to fall back on. You don't even know. Like, and you would never. It's like the lottery winners. You know, like, I won the lotto. I never did shit in life, but I won the lotto. And they're all broke like a year later because they don't know. They've never, it's not like it happens to that person that's been putting in the work and trying and doing that. Like, that doesn't happen. But the other happens all the time.
Your biggest growth will never come through your wins. It'll always come through adversity. You have
and that's
to
from a Super Bowl winner, y'all.
You got to embrace it.
He's won a national championship. Yep. He's won a Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, just accolades, but
yeah. I mean, listen,
you've done it. You've been there.
My biggest trophy was not those, though. My biggest trophy is that I graduated from a major university. That was my biggest trophy. That was the hardest challenge. Education was the hardest challenge. Sports came natural. But to be able to sit down and to study and to continue to beat the wall down for something that I didn't understand.
While doing everything else.
Doing that. That was my biggest thing. So what I'm telling people is that for me personally, my way to the light came through the darkness. I'll say this, and if we got to go, we got to go.
Oh, we got a few more minutes.
Bane is one of my favorite characters of all time.
Bang, bang.
Specifically, Bane. Specifically the one Tom Hardy played in The Dark Knight. And he said something when he was fighting Batman. He said, you think darkness is your ally. You merely adopted the darkness. He said, I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light till I was a grown man, and by that time it was nothing but blinding. I lived that, man. I look for the hard, because that is where the biggest growth comes from, and so many people run from it. I heard a guy talk about, he said, my grandfather said that tough men make hard times, right? And he said hard times make tough men. Tough men make easy times. Easy times make, I believe he said, soft men, right? And then soft men create hard times. So there's a persistent cycle that continues to happen. It's going to happen. If you are the person that created wealth in your family, bro, that shit is hard. That first million is hard. You talk to millionaires, and you hear the story. I lost my wife. I lost my kids. I slept in my car. I didn't have no shoes. I had one toothbrush for 2 years. Like, you talk about the grind of what it took to become a millionaire. Their kids will never know it. Now, this is the thing. The kids will see how daddy worked, and they'll adapt some of that. But by the time you get to that second generation, this is all we know. So we don't understand work. We don't understand what hard is. This is how life is. So we're not going to put in the same amount of effort. Therefore, the wealth is going to be diminished. And so now they have nothing to pass down to their kids. And now this is where, and he's one of my favorite people that I like to listen to. Michael Jordan's coach.
Phil Jackson.
No. This was his trainer. Tim Grover. I'm not going to forget his name.
Tim Grover.
Tim Grover was the trainer of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, you name it, he owned it. He said, there's a bill that's going to be passed down to your generation, and it is the bill of regret. And you're either going to pass that bill down or you're going to pay that bill. And it's going to hit every single generation until somebody in that generation decides to pay it. So the question you have to ask is, are you going to be the one to pay that bill? We got to pay the bill, man. You got to pay it. My assistant says you got to pay the cost to be the boss. You have to pay the cost. There is no way around it. Everything that you've ever done in your life that was about anything was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. It challenged you. You wanted to quit. You cried. You were in pain. To win a Super Bowl, everybody sees the trees, nobody sees the root. Everybody sees the trees, but nobody sees the roots. To win a Super Bowl, before we ever got to Tampa and won that sticky Lombardi and tears were flowing, bro, we sweated in the sun in Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
Or just like that last drive in the national championship game.
We sweated in the sun in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to tell people.
And how did you feel about that practice? I got to ask, because Jonathan Scott told me a story about that practice, like the practice before the game.
Man, it was intense. It was intense because we were ready, because we knew what was at stake, man. Like, you got to think about this. USC is a dynasty. They just beat the brakes off of Oklahoma to the year before.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have all this talk about who has the better team. There was no money involved in that on our end. That was about pride. You had a bunch of guys. Some of them had names, but there wasn't no Matt Leinart. We had Vince.
Yeah.
There wasn't no Matt Leinart. There wasn't no Reggie Bush, Lindell White, Brian Cushion, all these other players that they had, Tyler
It was all
Smith.
the unsexy players you guys had, yourself included, not calling you unsexy here.
No, I definitely.
I mean, all these linemen, defensive, offensive.
Bro, we were grinding.
And
we were
how
grinding.
many of those guys went to the NFL?
Embraced.
Good God.
Texas, we embraced grimy. Our thing was fourth quarter. You do what you want for the first 3 quarters. But in the fourth quarter, we're going to put you to bed. We're going to put our foot on your neck, and we're going to crush your trachea. We were the type of people to where if we saw you in the shallow end of the water and you were struggling to get to the shore, we was going to grab your ass and take you in the deep end and drown you. That was the violence that we had. That was how we played. That is what we believed in. You are not better than us. How do you beat a team that has you down 35-7 at halftime in Oklahoma State? And then you come back and shut them out, and they don't score a point for the second half, and you put up 49 points on their ass and walk out 56-35. How do you do that? You have to have a belief that no matter what's going on in my life, this is why sports, business, and life run parallel. No matter what is going on, and I want people to really believe this. Listen, I'll look in the camera for this one. No matter what is going on in your life, you will only lose. You can only lose if you quit. Do not quit. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what the circumstance is. I don't care who we've lost. I don't care what we've lost. If you decide that no matter what the fuck is going on in my life, I will not quit, I promise you, you are going to win.
Yeah, man.
You're going to win. Stop battling other people. It's you versus you. That is it. Every day that I wake up, I'm trying to beat myself. My brother has this thing that he says, shout out to Jay Hills with the Collective in Austin, Texas. Win the day. Just win the fucking day. That means if I wake up, if I set my alarm at 5 a.m., and get your ass up. Win that moment.
Yeah, don't hit snooze.
Don't hit the snooze. If you say you're going to eat right, fucking eat right. If you're going to work out, fucking work out. If you're going to study, fucking study. This is very simple. Every day we make the decision to do or not to do.
But we let so many other things clog that. I mean, I'm guilty of it. But
lack of discipline.
Yeah.
Lack of discipline. Once I started embracing discipline, my life changed. You could put, I Sunday through Friday night I'm going in. But Sunday through Friday, I do not eat junk food. I eat meal prep, Sunday through Friday. You could put a stack of fucking Krispy Kreme donuts, hot, sticky, right here in front of me. I will not touch them bitches. Not because I don't want to, I don't have a desire to. I want to devour them. Put the milk next to it as well. Yeah. I want to go in. Oatmeal cookies, oh my God. I'm not going to eat it. Because my result of what I want my body to be is more intense, and the discipline that I have is more intense than that instant gratification. Everything that we do in life is predicated on, do we have instant or do we have delayed? And this is the thing, and I'm always going to bring it back to finance. Wealthy people have decided to make more decisions dealing with delayed gratification than those that are lacking finances do.
There you guys have it right there. Might be one of the most important things y'all have heard all night.
That's it, man.
Not to diminish anything else y'all have heard. And I know I'm getting the sign over here. We got to wrap this up, man.
Let's do it.
I want to thank you for coming and being a part of this. I know this is an early podcast. Thank you for being one of my beloved guests.
Man, I appreciate it.
And I hope we get to do this again. I want to rock with the blueprint and, learn more, because you've been an inspiration to me.
Thank you, man.
And just the time I've got to spend around you, which, I was fortunate to get, some time through some of our mutual friends.
Yep.
and to start building this friendship with you.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate you coming on here and just being open and honest with all these people listening, because, man, that's why I did this. You know, like these kind of conversations, because you and I just chilling, whether we're watching a Cowboys game, whatever. We end up not watching the damn game because we're talking like this and what y'all are seeing, and like that's what I wanted to share with people. So, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on here, breaking away from your family and your business, and spending the time to share this with everybody, man.
Yeah, man.
I truly appreciate it. I hope you'll be back, man.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
Until next time, y'all give Common Sense the podcast a follow. STATS Financial Services, the Blueprint.
Yes, sir.
Any other thing you want to throw out there? I mean, like, throw it out there, my man.
I appreciate it, man. Listen, if you guys can, man, really subscribe to this podcast. My man G is doing some great things. Man, shout out to my man Busy for putting the technology aspect of this together, because without the tech... And
Biz was on time, y'all. So none of y'all be sending me no bullshit messages or anything. Don't do it. Biz was on time.
Hey, listen.
Biz was doing his deal.
Biz said no excuses, no explanations, only results, man. He made it happen. So follow the Legacy Blueprint on Facebook. Follow me at Tony the Tycoon on Instagram. And if you guys want to interact with me via setup, like any type of, connection, go to statfinancial.info. You'll hit work with Tony, man, and set up a meeting and we can talk. All of my consultations, my first consultations are always free. I don't charge for that.
Hey, y'all, and he is available. Like, this is not bullshit and smoke and mirrors. I mean, when I first met Tony, he was like, yo, here's my number. Hit me up. Let's talk. And he reached back with me in 24 hours. Like, I mean, like, I didn't even have to follow up with him. He followed up with me.
That's it, man.
And, like, this is not bullshit. If y'all want to do some business with Tony, y'all know where to find him now. And, I mean, you might get a call from Alicia, but, I mean, it's not quite there anymore. But y'all give my man a shout. Follow his stuff. I mean, as you can see, he's putting great content out there. He really, truly is educating people and trying to share this knowledge. And, man, there can't be enough said about that. We don't have enough true educators in this world, and they don't get enough credit when they do. Yeah,
last thing I'll say, man, and we can get out of here because we still got the rest of this cigar to smoke. Man, care about people. Care about yourself and care about people. You do those two things, you're going to be all right in life.
Thank you. You guys give Common Sense the podcast a follow. Give my man a follow. And we will see you next week. Same time, same place.
Hook 'em horns.
Oh, no. Come on, man.
Yeah, I'm not getting out of here without that.
I'm going to have to book me a sooner soon.
Nah, you getting out of here, man.